very interesting to have use Mr. Jacob please, because I think you have a lot to say, so he will use Mr. Jacob, and after that we will listen to Mr. Jacob, after that we put to the floor. So please,
we welcome you back to the closing session of our 2018 conference, international conference, and what actually one session. We are very proud actually to have Professor Very Shankar with us. And actually, it's a very long while, so I'm going to use the short one. Professor Shankar is the criminal chair professor, marketing and director of research center for retailing studies, Mays Business School, Texas A&M. Professor Shankar has been recognized as one of the world's most influential scientific minds by Thomson Reuters and as a top 10 scholar worldwide on innovation. He's a winner of the AMS Capital Vector Outstanding Marketing Educator Award for lifetime contributions in marketing, the Lifetime Achievement Award in Retailing from AMA, the Mahajal, hopefully pronouncing it in the right way, Mahajal Award for lifetime contribution to marketing strategy from AMA as well, Distinguished Alumina Award from IM Calcutta, the Distinguished Alumina Award from IT, the Clark Award for the Outstanding Direct and Interactive Marketing Educator, the Long-Term Impact Award for IJRM, National Journal of Research and Marketing, article, the Green Award for the Best Article in Journal of Marketing Research, and the Lehman Award for the Best Dissertation-Based Article in Journal. We are very proud actually to have you here with us for the closing session of our conference, and Professor Shankar will be about innovation in emerging economics, which we will close our keynote speakers actually. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Should I use this or? Okay, thank you for the great introduction. And I come from Texas, so we greet everybody howdy. So I'm going to say howdy, and please say howdy back. Okay? Howdy. Good. And you know, it's really a scary feeling when you're the last speaker standing between you at the end of the conference, right? Not only that I'm the last speaker between you and the end of the conference, but also you must be very hungry, having a long day, right? And also between you and your dinner, right? That's even double jeopardy, right? So sometimes I feel like I'm Angelina Jolie's 6th husband, or maybe 7th husband, even as I speak. I say that because, like all Angelina Jolie's 5 previous husbands, including Brad Pitt, you know, I know what to say, but I don't know how to make it interesting. More interesting than the previous 5. So there's a lot of great speakers before me. So hopefully I'll be there. I'll make it enough interesting for you to stay for some time, okay? So thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I have to first thank Amir for inviting me, and John and his group at the embassy. Emerging market innovations has been my area of research the last few years, and that's primarily because a lot of things that happen in emerging markets, primarily driven by China, India, Russia, Brazil, and now more recently from South Africa, South Africa, Egypt, Turkey, and so on. So that's why this is a great topic for me to talk about. So I am going to start with innovation. I don't have to tell you how important it is. It is becoming almost the lifeblood of every firm now. And firms are shifting new product development from where they used to do. All the US multinationals traditionally used to develop them in the developed markets, including the US, but a lot of them are moving. Today I was talking to a person from Orange, the telco operator, and they have a big presence here, as you know, the second largest telco here. And they have 18 R&D centers, out of which 10 are outside France, their home country. So you can imagine, and not a single one of them is in the US. So about 9 of them are in emerging markets. And it's a conscious decision, moving back. And not only emerging markets are becoming very important in terms of the size of the market that's expanding. So if it's China with 1.3 or 1.4 billion people, India with 1.35 billion people, or Brazil with another 200 plus million, and you have Indonesia with 260, Egypt with touching 100 million. All of these are big in size itself, but they are becoming a huge opportunity for developing new products. And that's what I'm going to focus on. For 2025, all estimates point out to an emerging market business worth $30 trillion. And that's, just to put it in perspective, the GDP of US is about $20 trillion. And you can imagine, emerging market business markets alone is worth $30 billion. That's a big amount. And here's the graph by which this has grown from the 50s to 70s to 2025. And you can see the consuming class. The consuming class is the lighter blue bar in the stacked bar, and it has steadily grown from nowhere in the 1950s to 4.2 million. If you look at the consumption graph in the second, which is the dollar value worth, it is going from 2010, just a space of 15 years, it's expected to grow from 12 trillion to 30 trillion dollars, and that's a staggering amount. And pretty soon it's going to dwarf the developing markets, right? So we have to be studying this if you're not already started studying this. And this is not my data, it's making these data. It's fairly going on. So 70% of the new growth is coming from emerging markets. And as I said, the consuming class, that's about 4.2 billion out of 7.5 billion people now on the planet, are basically emerging economies. And China will have the biggest in terms of size R&D workforce in the world pretty soon, maybe a year or so. And if you look at India too, it's like the largest number of technology workers, including IT, communication, medical, and so on. And so you can see that R&D cost in emerging markets is driving many of these developments. As of now, it's about 30% of the developed world cost. It is very expensive because these salads are expensive. And but the question is, only 17% of innovation from global firms are coming from these emerging markets. So in spite of having a cost advantage and even a talent advantage to some extent in terms of size, you see only 17% innovations. So you're asking, why should it be more like 40, 50%, right? But the trajectory is going toward that. We don't know how long it's going to take, but more and more companies that I work with, I've talked with, and interacted with in terms of research, are talking about moving almost a chunk of their new product development. Of course, that may not be good news for a lot of employment opportunities, but manufacturing could still be in developed economies still. I give you some examples here. Cisco has a $1 billion R&D headquarters in Bangalore, India. And that's a significant amount. Cisco is the largest networking and routing switching company in the world. Microsoft, its Beijing R&D is the largest outside the US, next to Seattle, and the Bay Area. If you look at traditional new product development, how would firms approach it? If you look at it in terms of the pyramid, 85% of global resources, right? It was concentrated on the bottom of the global pyramid in terms of people and talent. And the tip of the income pyramid, which was only 15%, right, was actually designing most of the products and innovations for the rich. And what would they do? They design, and then they pass it on, and it'll be a trickle-down approach, right? So you see all the imported automobiles here, right? It all were designed outside Egypt, right? It was all designed in the developed markets, and then maybe there were some adjustments, and so only the models that they saw fit to this economy, they made it here. But that has been the traditional approach, right? But what if we really flipped it on its head? Really, let's start this whole innovation process on its head. Okay, how about taking the bottom of the pyramid customer tier, which is 4.2, 4.0 to 4.2 billion people, and then start from them as a customer-centric perspective for innovations, right? Because these are the people who are going to be consuming, they're going to be using these products first in a large scale, whether it's a smartphone, automobile, or whether it's a service. Even that can't start from there. This, the middle tier is we call it second tier 2 and 3, but 1.5 billion people, and then go to tier 1, which is the top in terms of income pyramid. Right? So this is a different approach. So what that means, let's start designing for the poor and move to the rich. Right? Very radically different idea. So far, not very many companies made a stake on this, but a lot more companies are thinking about this because this is where they anticipate the global markets to be. And if they are not designing for the real, the base customer, they will be too late to catch the customer. Really? If you look at smartphones, Apple has a dominance, as we all know, right? But if you look at the future, which companies are actually going to create the market for smartphones, you don't have to look far behind, you just have to go and look at China, right? If you look at the top 4 smartphone makers, starting from Huawei, right? And Oppo, Vivo, I see Oppo here in Egypt. And all of these are designing smartphones, which is very highly capable, may not be as high in status value as Apple iPhones, but they are getting very close to that. I work with BBK, the parent company of Oppo and Vivo, and their philosophy is keep a very low profile. Just let's penetrate all the lower markets. Our job is to sell phones to even the lowest income people. But not just any small standard feature phone, but a smartphone which is as highly capable as maybe an Apple or Samsung. I mean, that's the philosophy of these emerging multinationals, if you will. And they are multinationals because they are going to be present everywhere, right? They're not in the traditional sense that we are used to thinking about as the American or the European multinationals. And so this means that you design products. This is true for even consumer packaged goods, right? We're not thinking in terms of shampoo bottles. We're talking about sachets, smaller package sizes, and so on. And even if you look at candies, chocolates, and so on. Now, you've got the lowest size candies and Cadbury's and all of these things that are available, and more brands are trying to design from that level onwards. So this is what I really refer to as emerging market innovations, because they really originate in emerging markets. The ideas that originate, the prototyping happens there, the market testing happens there first, and then slowly as it becomes popular, bells and whistles are added to these innovations, and then these innovations are either exported or the idea and the design is used in other smaller markets. And a lot of countries are starting to embrace that. So let me give you one example here. Okay, General Electric, has a huge healthcare division that makes all kinds of equipment. As you know, you go to hospitals, you see CAT scan machines, MRI, any kind of sonograms, machines. All of these, one of them is a ECG or electrocardiogram, and they're MAC 400 and V-scan, which costs $800 for the US, right? It's in a backpack, and basically patient cost is $1 per test. This is a picture taken from India. So it's a mobile unit. People, paramedics, and anybody who's just a nurse practitioner could just take it and take it to different places. It turns out that take this to the patient rather than having the patient come to the doctor, right? Saves a lot of lives, and the cost is ridiculously low, right? So this is an example of what I call reverse innovation, and you can actually monitor this using an app from this. So the patient could actually self-monitor and actually, have a better healthy living and standard of living. I know that there are more medical applications that are apps that are coming. So this is in India, and basically this concept is so successful with GE that GE is now trying to adopt some of these things in some of the rural U.S. markets. Of course, at a higher price, slightly higher price, but it's not the highest price that the U.S. consumers used to buy. But this is just giving you an idea that even the multinationals are thinking about emerging markets as the hotbed of innovations. Because when you actually have to solve a pain or a problem, which is not just in terms of price points, but it's also in terms of how you deliver them, right? So delivery innovation has to be there. In the developed markets, you don't have last mile problems, you don't have logistical problems, you don't have supply chain that much. So you can create an innovation and deliver it that easily. But in developing markets, you have to think through that when you create this innovation. And that's why these are emerging market innovations are worthy of a separate study rather than just treating them as very similar to the developed market innovation. Here's an example from Africa, right? How many of you are familiar with Mopser? Right? Mopser, here it was originated in Egypt like 2 to 3 years ago. It's a navigational tool for visually impaired people, right? And it is a very low cost solution. And it was, I believe, designed by 2 Egyptian engineers from one of the universities here. I forget, I could be wrong. I don't want to mention the university. It could be Cairo University, but I don't know exactly what it is. Another one is VV5, which is a touch speaker which turns any interface into a human object interface. So all of us are very familiar with the iPhone and we are familiar with the touchscreen interface. But we know that we can't use this as a touchscreen, use my shirt or coat as a touchscreen. But they have created this. This is again Egyptian innovation very recently. And this could be potential emerging market innovations, right? If they successfully market it, they test it, and they really take it, all right? And how many of you heard of mellow caps? Mellow caps? Probably nobody. This is an innovation in South Africa, right? What does it do? It's a high-tech electric pedicab made from recycled materials. It is good for a radius of up to maybe 20 miles to go on short distances, and it's so cheap in terms of, and so easy to use, right? So again, designed with the idea, it is for the bottom of the pyramid, but then it may have substantial value outside that once it becomes successful. And it can be upgraded. It's not like it is only meant for this. The upgrades are easily doable on this for a higher class. And Egypt itself, when I last checked, I found so many innovations, right? Auto combining convenience and e-commerce. Elton is access and digital content. This is the restaurant. Zeta, right? Very popular now. How many of you here use Zeta? Okay. What is your view of that? Is it a valuable service, right? And what do you typically use it for? Lady out there. Making appointments with doctors, right? What else do you use it for? Okay. Anybody uses it for follow-ups and tracking your how the health tracker, maybe for consulting solutions. So again, this is again possibility, right? If you can get something like this, there's so many developing markets where access to healthcare is not easy. Even in the U.S., there's 40 million uninsured people. So if you can create an app like this that could be potentially used at low cost, that could be a solution. Rich Bake, which is basically a bakery product, convenience and fast-paced life. I found this interesting. B2 alive. Whatever. Sorry? Okay, good. So this is another app. I know this is the Jumia, Truecaller, Uza, basically sharing and e-commerce. Some of them are very similar in what you find in the developed market, but some of them also take into account issues such as like bad traffic. All of these are maybe not just unique to Egypt, but you can see that this could be applied in many markets. So the reason I brought this up is that I could go to virtually any emerging market and find so many, right, that are capable of being marketed outside their home country, where they're developed, right? But that requires a lot of R&D, lots of tinkering, lots of resources, lots of investments, and of course, lots of encouragement in terms of seed capital and next round funding and so on. This is really what I'm talking about. This is mainly the way the innovations are going to be realized in the future world. So one of my research, I have two sets of research in this, trying to link firms actually move their NPD, the multinational firms, from developed markets to emerging markets. What happens to their shareholder value, right? How do shareholders react? Because it's a combination of marketing and finance and accounting. I know that there are people from there. There's a supply chain and IT also, because a lot of these innovations are IT-based innovations. So there's a lot of confluence of different disciplines in this research project. So one set is to find out what this is. And one set of research about emerging markets is what happens when firms form alliances, they terminate these alliances, right? Some of the alliances have to be terminated, and what happens to shareholder value? How do shareholders react? And the second set of essays that I have with Kiran, who's a doctoral student who's graduated from Texas Tech. I happen to serve on his committee, so we have a couple of papers. We try to see what happens when to the emerging market partner as well as the developed market partner. Here we are looking only at when developed countries firms actually shift their new product development to emerging markets, what happens to that. And let me share with you what we mean by NPD shifting, and we also call it NPD partnering, right? So NPD shifting is if I have two R&D units in the US, right? Say I have one in the Bay Area, I have one in Boston, right? I'm shifting maybe 50% of those or 15% of those activities to, let's say, Beijing or Bangalore or Singapore, right? So that I would call it, Singapore is known as an emerging market, so let's say Bangkok, right? So I would call that as a shifting from my own R&D centers to another location in an emerging market, right? So if US firms switch to India and China, for example, that would be in this. It's all internal, the firm still retains control. Firms could also move new product development to emerging markets by partnering with the local firm, right? So this is where a global firm, let's say headquartered in the US, finds a partner from in a place like India or China, and then tries to jointly develop an alliance. So they could have a partnership, they could have a strategic alliance, or they could be some kind of a new venture where they have both equity. But whatever it is, it's a kind of partner, right? So when we move, we looked at examples to see whether this is a big phenomenon or not. So here's IBM's experience. In the world, 2003, they had 10,000 people. They expanded to 400,000 by 2010. And the US headcount was 135,000. That reduced by 105. India, they moved from 9 to 75,000, right? And these are not call centers. These are not our, a lot of them are design engineers, R&D establishments, and so on, right? So in other words, this is really design and development talent, new product development talent. So in fact, in Malik, or one of my colleagues, he said 750 R&D centers have been set up in India by multinational, according to these estimates, right? So in other words, even as we speak, companies are moving, but we're not able to we're not researching this because we're not keeping track of this. Because it's a very important development, and let's see why internal and external control might make sense. In internal control, what happens is that when firms shift to open a new center, they could also expand an existing center, they could hire specialized employees. For example, a lot of biotech companies are now hiring people in places like Bangalore, India, because now they have a pool of talent to hire for, and they can develop certain solutions at a lower cost. So they're basically in genomics, and then basically molecule, they develop data science, they basically have to do the R&D work there. In external, there is usually collaborative effort, and sometimes you could acquire the partner's product development. I'm going to give you some examples here, right? Here's an announcement from Cisco Systems way back in 2001. As you can read, I'm not going to read this, but I'm going to highlight certain things. So they are saying that they're going to scale up investments in India R&D from $200 million to $150 million. And then they're saying the number of engineers, and they clearly, John Chambers, who was the then CEO, said, "We're doing that to tap the R&D now. It's not really because it is just cheap, but because we have good talent out there, right?" So in this research, we looked at two questions. What is the effect of shifting NPD to emerging markets on share providers? Because every time when this happens, we look at the outsourcing literature, right? A lot of firms outsource to developing markets, and then, the story was every shareholder, every investor looked at it and said, oh, they're going to reduce costs. Okay, that's why they're outsourcing. Factoring, they're outsourcing call centers, and so on. But with R&D, it's very different, right? R&D investor reactions are not necessarily in terms of cost control. They're thinking in terms of now, you're going to let a new bunch of designers decide what the future products are going to be, not just for their markets, but also our markets, right? The markets in which investors are, which are typically developed markets, right? So that's why this is an interesting question. And more importantly, what determines the long-term and the short-term of normal returns, right? Those of you in finance, there's a lot of these event studies, but what is important is, short-term, according to the market, efficient market hypothesis, is that it reflects, stock price reflects all the short-term returns. But there's an uncertainty here because when a firm says that I'm going to really move, set 30% of my R&D, let's say to Manila, Philippines, right? Or Dublin, Dublin is actually a developed market, technically. But then what happens is that my investors will know immediately, maybe I'm not so sure, but over a period of time it'll be resolved. So there's a long-term return because I get more information about the quality of people, about how its investment is playing out, whether the products that they are actually making is worthwhile, is it finding market, is it finding acceptance, is it priced right? All those information comes out, so there should be some long-term returns as these issues are resolved, right? So that's why we try to look at these two important questions. Also, I'm a very practical guy. I work with a lot of companies, so I just go and talk to companies straight. So I went to talk to Cisco, Microsoft, IBM, all these companies that actually initiated a lot of these changes. Try to find out what is your motivation? Why did you do that, right? And a lot of them seem to indicate it's not just cost, right? Cost may be one part of it, but it's for other strategic reasons. So our question was, if that is so, do investors really agree? Our investors have a different view of that, right? So if you think about determinants, right, there are some direct effects. Once you announce, let's say Cisco announces that I'm moving, let's say 10% of my R&D force Bangalore, right? So what happens, right? Investors look at how much investment you're going to put, right? In the Cisco example I read, they went from 150 to 200. That was just one announcement. But over a period of time, we have these announcements. People look at the investment amount and say, hey, this company is serious. They're putting $1 billion or maybe $5 billion, right? So they need business. For example, Amazon is now upping the ante in India as a market, right? Jeff Bezos committed $1 billion over the course of 5 years. Now, Flipkart is the local rival in India that started becoming very big, right? And they had backing from all the venture capital firms, and even Walmart had a stake in that. So they were also bleeding, like Amazon was. Typically, the e-commerce, the first few years are only right off, right? And in spite of that, Amazon have the 2 billion, now it's 5 billion, now they have their own R&D, they are going to have everything. So as you can see, the investment amount should have a direct impact when firms, so that's what we expect. And then relative employee size, local size. So if the firm tells the investors that I have 1,000 people in my R&D, out of which 500 people are from these emerging markets, the investors then size it up and then say, okay, this one must mean something. So these two have direct effects, typically. There are also a lot of indirect or moderating effects. What are these, right? Investors also want to read what you're announcing, right? When you announce it, you say that, okay, I'm simply because the highest quality of employees, right? In here, or there's a great pool of talent, whatever words you use. So that's, if you're emphasizing the quality, the industrial reactions may be very different. Some firms just say that we're moving that because it's too expensive to operate in the Bay Area. Right? If you say that, then you're basically drawing attention to the fact that cost saving is your primary motivation. So this will be indirect, even though they are not as direct as the other things. Then development scope. How many new products are you going to produce in this new R&D center or new product development? Right? Is it going to be just one product out of your 100 products, or is it just one out of your 10 products, or is it 10 out of 10? Right? So all those things will matter. Cool. Profitability, how profitable you have been in the past, but also gives you confidence, right? If you're really not profitable and you're going to this, they're going to read something into it, say maybe you're, unpaid, you're trying your luck in some other market and so on. But if you're consistently profitable, they must be asking, what does this mean, right? So basically, what we do is we collect a lot of data. We wanted to collect ideas from a lot of emerging markets, but unfortunately, these data is very difficult to collect. We have to collect data on announcement of this scripting. We have to collect data on performance of these companies. We have to collect data on a whole bunch of these determinants that I talked about. So first and foremost, one of my PhD students helped me collect the data in India. We managed to get hold of an IT trade association, which partnered with another association, and had details of which firm moved, which R&D, which centers, dating back to 15 to 20 years. So we had to collect data from that time period onwards. So anyway, cut to the chase, I'm going to show you the distribution of shareholder returns. So we collected data about 200 firms, and they shifted their R&D, right? So 348 announcements. And if you look at the CAR, cumulative of nominal returns, and you can see some kind of an inverted band, right? So if you see what's the modal value or the peak, right? It is just marginally positive, just marginally positive. We also took count of how many returns of nominal returns were positive versus negative. Anybody wants to guess what percentage of returns were positive? Anybody wants to guess what percent of returns to an announcement that if big multinational or a big listed company in the US is moving its R&D or new product development to India? What percentage? Just a guess. 30, 70? Good guess. Anybody else? About 47% is positive. Okay? By largely it's negative. Now this is puzzling, right? Why would investors really view this as that? So we just dive deep, right? But how does that explain a marginal positive average, right, or the mode, right? Because what happens is that the returns, when they are positive, they are big enough, and their returns are negative if they are not really badly negative. So that explains that. Okay, so that's part of this. But most importantly, we went through the structures. We did all kinds of analysis, everything that I'm going to cut short because I'm the last speaker, right? So I don't want to bore you with all the details of this. I'm sure many of you understand how this methodology is done. If you're not, I'll be happy to talk to you after this talk is over. Here's what we found. So I'm going to list you here the summary of the determinants and their effects, right? So first is investment amount, which we thought will have a direct effect, and it had a negative effect. So in other words, if you mention the investment amount, the higher the investment amount, surprisingly, the more the negative is, right? We were puzzled, saying, well, it goes back to the perception of a lot of investors that if it comes to outsourcing of call centers and manufacturing, it is fine, positive for me. I will decrease my reaction. But when it comes to R&D, the lifeblood, innovation, and so on, I'm not so sure. So the more you're going to invest, the more negative in the short term they are. I also have a study on long term, which is actually somewhat different from this. I'm not able to present here in some time, but I also want to share with you some nice interaction effects. But if the firm emphasizes the quality of employees, all of a sudden that negative effect is mitigated. So in other words, if the investors see an emphasis on positive quality of the employees and the high investment amount, that actually works out okay for the firm. But by in itself, if you simply say, I am shifting $1 million to this, that's a negative for the investors. But if you look at investment amount and CSE is a cost-saving emphasis, right? So if you had cost-saving emphasis, right, and you had a higher amount, then also the investors are positive because they think that you'll reduce cost, that will increase profitability, that will increase earnings, and that's how you get some positive abnormal returns. What happens when your relative local employee size is high? Okay, it turns out that it doesn't have an effect. Typically, because local employee size is not very high compared to the global or the headquarter employee size. But what happens is that you have a employee quality emphasis that actually works fine. So in other words, if you say that I'm recruiting 25% of the workforce in R&D in South Africa because the quality of the employees is high, the investors react very positively. But the same token, if you look at relative local employee size and cost saving, that is not really making a big difference. So in other words, investors react to the signal that cost savings is there, but they don't react to the signal the size of employees and don't matter a lot. As long as cost saving, they're positively inclined, it doesn't get amplified or attenuated because of the relative local employees. So this is just to give you a nutshell of the key findings. But what are some of the implications for managers? So if you think about it, I want to take a few findings and suggest some implications. So if you mention local employee size, that has no significant effect, but if you emphasize employee quality, that has a positive effect. So what it means is that if you mention the number of local employees in your announcement for new products shifting to an emerging market, then you better make sure that you highlight the quality, right? But then you can't lie if they're not high quality. So in other words, it means that if you don't have high quality, then be careful about mentioning that. But the same token, one of our findings was investment amount has a negative effect, right? So in other words, what it means is that don't expect your investors to really be thrilled when you announce that saying, oh, I'm opening 3 R&D centers, one in Manila, one in Jakarta, one in Colombia, Bogota, right? They're not going to be thrilled. I'm saying I'm putting so much money on that, right? But if you say I'm recruiting these people, I've seen certain companies actually benefit by saying we are recruiting engineers from basically Fudan Institute. They even mentioned that basically Xinguo. They also mentioned Beijing University, right? Just to make sure that the employee qualities are. So hopefully Cairo, if somebody else does that, they'll say, I'm recruiting employees from Cairo University, right? Is that a fair assumption? Is that okay? Okay, that's a fair assumption. But if development scope has a positive monitoring, so the more you're developing this, people see that maybe you're there for the long term. So if the NPD is for one specific product, don't just say narrowly, I'm only doing this for this. But that doesn't have an impact on investors, right? Fast profitability is surprising as a negative model because of the anxiety. It's very consistent with the first finding that if you simply say that you are moving R&D, a very key design feature and development feature, people are very skeptical. And if you're already being profitable, people are worried that you will lose money. Okay? And I think that is what was going on in our results. So these are my quick thoughts on the implications. So getting back to my key questions, right? Remember, what is the effect of shifting NPV to emerging markets and shareholder value? Briefly, overall negative, almost an even mix of positive and negative, a little bit more negative than positive, as I said, 53% to 47%. And a second research question, what are the determinants of short-term abnormal returns? It turns out investment amount matters, but in a negative way. Interaction of investment amount with employee quality emphasis, cost saving emphasis, development scope, and profitability, just like I said in the last slide. And the interaction of relative local employee size, employee quality emphasis, right? What about some future research? How do firms overcome challenges? So this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of looking at emerging market innovation research. But a lot of firms face challenges in making it successful. This is one is getting investor reactions, but how to make it work, right? We are still collecting data on one of the projects to see what makes something work and not. And as I said, one of two sets of papers we are looking at when alliances are terminated or partnerships, new product or marketing alliances. Why does that happen? What happens to the shareholder value of both the firms? So overcoming this and how innovations, more importantly, how these innovations, the successful ones, have positive shareholder long-term value are diffusing to other markets, which is again another source for that. So with that, I think I am going way over time, all right? And I want to shut up and listen to you, okay? Thank you.
And I think this is the best closing for our conference, which is saying now we that. So now I think we have 10 minutes. I think we will open our comments. And I'm afraid to give you the before I can get it. Okay.
Thank you very much for these thoughts and actually lots of thoughts. I'm going to actually dominate the notes. But basically, what came across my mind is that we started our conference by discussion about our presentation from panelists about the rule of micro multinationals and their rules and expected role in the economy. And we went through how the education and the employee quality and the leaders and the engineers, and then we went through the digitalization and the role of technology and we ended up combining all of these and actually towards being more innovative and moving the new product development. So and again adding to the discussion which we talked about a lot and actually brain from emerging markets and actually to the developed countries for whether sitting back and actually the centers and infra. So I think this will raise lots of discussions, lots of issues, because this is what we were talking about over these two days. So thank you again very much for your presentation. I want to leave the floor to the audience. But of course, Dr. Rao will make a short comment.
I guess this is very thank you very much for such a wonderful presentation. Internationalization through innovation, I may say. And this is very important because we always say that innovation in marketing at least, but also everywhere, is a trigger for lots of important reforms across the organization. So now if we talk about innovation or new product development for the international markets, this is again another trigger, and again this is important in emerging countries. Now one trigger that can make a large spillover effect. Thank you. what, you got it back in a few seconds. Very good, back in 2 seconds.
Any comments? Okay,
I wasn't going to ask you anything. But since it's a normal practice to have a Q&A, I think it was more interesting to us than the 7 husbands of Angelina Jolie. But I didn't know she remarried after Brad Pitt. I think she's still single. So whenever she marries, you guys consult him.
You married twice and divorced twice.
Yeah. Anyway.
So it seems that one is smoking.
Well, I can't help it, it's all over the news.
Great.
I know.
I need some sort of them. I guess being a U.S. based and our efficiency healthcare system is very interesting. One product that because it's on an island or something for $1 or
That's
ECG for $1. So I think this is a great opportunity that I wonder if you see it this way, that we will then transport these innovations back to the U.S. If we could get an electrocardiogram for $1 in the U.S., whatever it costs, astronomical amount, that would be wonderful. But are there going to be regulatory issues?
No, actually, this is made by GE, so it's conforming to all the regulations. No. Standards from. Yeah, you did some magic. Yeah, I think I don't think that regulation is an issue, but it is a serious question mark on the profit margins of these companies and profitability, because he is already selling high-end equipment and this, and they don't want their customers to know that they could make this at lower, like maybe 80% of the features or 90%.
But if you heard my talk on the internet, of course you know they do know.
They do know, yes and no, but they won't know whether there's an alternative available right now. See, that's where I think the Chinese are going to come in. Lots and more, like the Oppo example I gave you. Because they are going to put a lot of pressure in it. In the US, as you never rightly said, there's a lot of pressure to now decrease the healthcare costs, right? So I'm working with Humana on the insurance side, and as you may have seen, a lot of companies that are now, the CVS has taken over the insurance healthcare company now. And many of these are bringing down diabetes costs, dialysis costs, all of these things. Everything is with app-based and technology-based is going to come down so much that we will see more of this innovation. And all these things are happening because people say this is working in places like India, it's working in places like get a variant of that for the US market, right? That's where it's headed towards.
I want to continue with this request.
So, if I may intervene, actually, one of the interesting results, and actually you presented, is the relationship between the investment size, actually, and the intentions to shift the new product development center. So if the investment amount is large, most probably they decide to keep it and actually the developed countries and recruit actually these minds to the network. And if the investment amount is low to some extent, so we can risk it and send it and actually sell.
That is my mindset.
Yeah, because this to some extent, as an Egyptian, as a resident in one of the emerging units, automatically I'm actually creating which in my model that it will keep on going without an ending. Most probably the large new product developments, unless we are talking about a certain pattern or a certain idea that came from which is not happening regularly. So most probably the development, this is how I read it actually. The developed countries will continue this having attracting the brilliant minds for the large and mega projects, while to some extent for emerging markets. Did I read it in the right way?
Yes and no, because see, there's a problem with integration in the US, right? So a lot of firms are lobbying, the technology firms are lobbying to attract the talent to the US, but because the administration is not favorable towards them, so they are at their most of the talent is now staying back in their respective South Africa and so on. So that's when these companies decide it's better to have an R&D than move these people altogether. So it makes the double. But the point is the investors are by and large from the developed markets. So they view this as risky because they think that the quality of products or the appeal of these products may not be as high as in the US. But this is a different age. Things are developing rapidly, the connectivity and all those things. So maybe the investors' reactions might change over a period of time. They need to be assured. But your reading is quite correct on that, except for this challenges of.
So this was not regulation. So, I mean, you're going away.
I try to summarize it. I think there is a room for open innovations in enhancing further capabilities of can you just elaborate a little bit on that and how this might Egyptian firms facing many challenges on innovation developments better?
I think Amir is raising a very good point about open innovation. Open innovation has been around for now 10 years. And open innovation includes crowdsourcing, we're talking about. So, idea, not to say most of the crowdsourcing ideas, open innovation goes deeper. So you can have innovations that originate, the ideas may originate, the development may take place someplace. We're willing to look at all possible sources and connect them. Even Procter & Gamble is a consumer package company, goods companies now devoting 10% of resources to open. So that's a significant sum for a company. Because most companies are realizing that it's very hard to develop everything in-house. Plus, what if they develop and the standards don't really, they lose the standards, right? Which is very high in high tech, defense contracting and all those things. You can develop the weapon or technology system that never gets adopted by anybody. So there, the incentive for open innovation. The difficulty about open innovation in the international context is that it's very hard to really monetize the open. So you have partners in 4 countries, and you're sourcing some ideas. Because of different regulations, different establishments, it's very hard to get together, come together to some agreement. And sometimes the established firms are worried about losing their edge and intellectual property over them. So that's a trade-off that we have. Whether you're willing to sacrifice that. And some firms don't have an option because their R&D is not that good. So they have to really rely on open innovation. Some firms are still keeping it. Like if you look at the big tech firms, I spent the last sabbatical at Stanford and in the Bay Area firms, one of the things I noticed they're becoming increasingly close-minded. So previously Google has allowed me to do a lot of things. Now Google says you have to go through so many protocols or even this. And they never gave me some data that they promised me. So Apple is extremely secretive. Apple doesn't want to do it. Amazon is doing the same way. So one fear is that on one hand, open innovation is going on and it is the way of the future. On the other hand, this big fight, for example, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, all these large market cap firms, they start really becoming very close-minded innovations. Don't allow and keep all the intellectual patents to themselves. Then it becomes very challenging. Right? How do you basically allow for this, right? And so I can see both of them happening. In fact, there's a challenge for academics like education like this. Google is now hiring all the best minds in computer science. At least they started with that. They start reading marketing departments now. Because they want them to be there and develop all the innovations. You don't have to publish. So here, that's another extreme that to which some firms are going to maintain their competitiveness. So on the one hand, you see a development towards open innovation. On the other hand, you're worried about this big five. So I'm not sure how this is going to play out. Maybe some regulations will come somewhere. This has to really work it out. But in the international context, open innovation may be the way to go. Because so many good ideas are coming from different places. So many good people are, so many good designs are coming. Cheaper, faster, efficient designs are happening outside the developed market. And the best way for firms to tap in will be that.
Last comment, if it is. Go on. Microphone, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I would like to ask about the context of your approach. Is it more applicable for the consumer products, transformation for the market countries? What about the business goods for advanced technology, or as an innovation for the country? Is it available for that? Is it flexible, applicable, and what obstacles for that? You mind to transform aviation for this countries, or will you face by many obstacles from your own countries, developed one, other countries?
Great question. I think summarizing the question, what you're saying is it more applicable for B2C and less applicable for B2B, or what are the differences there are? What I did mention is this step, for example, we had a good mix of B2B. We call it B2B. There are some differences between B2C. However, only thing that we notice with B2B firms is that if this technology is very high-end, very sophisticated, sometimes you may not be able to find enough engineers to work on the highest level. So the shifting may be more gradual than the B2C case. Whereas the B2C case is much more easier and quicker to shift, but the results are no different. So in terms of outcomes, shareholder reactions, what are the determinants, they are very similar. So it really doesn't make a difference with B2C or B2B, only that the shifting happens a little bit slower for B2B because of technical reasons, whatever. Suppose you're developing, let's say, the next generation of fighter jets. So you need to have a little bit of higher level of expertise and understanding of R&D and design. And that may not be available in developing markets or emerging markets. So the shifting may not happen very easily. Plus, they are sometimes very defense country sensitive, so you need defense clearance and so on. Those are the areas that I think will be less. Can that answer your question?
Now we have to close. Thank you again
We have to thank actually as well the cultural department of the USMC, which invited this research center to our conference. Right now, luckily, we are going to start with the closing ceremonies. We let me invite the heads of departments. This is the closing service. So we meet with Dr. Kamal, and we have just should we invite which just a small thank you actually for Kamal, Habib, We were very honored actually to have you with us for our conference. You enrich our discussions and we are very thankful actually for your participation and I think small thank you for your contribution and actually we do want it. Should we start with it?
No, not taking
I didn't get it. She saw
Since she's a digital person, just send everything digitally to her. And nothing physical, right? Oh, thank you so much. Hold there. Come on, hold there. Thank you.
Last but not least, our actually partner, last but not least, actually our partner, the group is, we always really happy to have you.
Thank you, so I will be fine.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good omen. Thank you for making me feel better.
Should we take the time out? Should
ولا السبب ولا السبب.
Take a picture.
ايوه صح الموبايل ايه مال موبايل والله واحد صح
خلص الحمد لله خلص.
اوه
So should we have you in the middle?
Thank you.
وانا
What's our marching order?
Next step is that we have a short actually closing ceremony. I'm happy.
We can go and sit.
Then we will talk about
I don't want to touch it. Get into more trouble touching it.
Give us 30 minutes or something like
لا ما كنتش يعرف بس نشوف يعني. انا طلعت في اللي فات ده اصلا عيب عليك والله العظيم ماشي هقول له دلوقتي هقول له ايه عمرو انت جاي على فاجئني ده بتاع محمد بن دكتور امل
الحمد لله نوصل وفي كويك ريمارك لحظة سريعة على مسألة العكس يعني يبتدي حضر حاضر مسألة العكس
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صعب قوي الواحد يتكلم في نهاية يومين ضايعين زي دول، لأنه لازم نشوف كل الناس المسؤولة عنهم، وده أمر يعني شبه مستحيل. يمكن الحقيقة يعني قبل ما أشكر زمايلي في إدارة الكلية الحقيقة لازم أشكر المنظمين اللي ليل ونهار صعب قوي أفتكر أساميهم كلهم، إنما ليل ونهار الحقيقة كانوا بيساعدونا بكافة الوسائل. وانا بالذات بقى انا تقيل شويه، انا ليه سيدي ويجيب لي حاجه ان شاء الله. فربنا يكرمهم الحقيقه، خلوا المؤتمر كان ده جو رائع. طبعا شكر اكيد لزمايلي استاذ الدكتور ابو عيسى في الكليه، استاذ الدكتور مهدي جمال في وزاره الصحه العليا والجامعه الجامعه، استاذ الدكتور عمر الرحمن ملاك الدكتور طارق. الحقيقه فعلا الاستمراريه بالروح اللي كانت موجوده السنه اللي فاتت موجوده في كل حاجه بنعملها في الكليه، هي روح الفريق. شكر موصول جدا لكل التيم، مش عايز اقول اسماء وانسى، بس طبعا اكيد الدكتور وليد وهيب والدكتور غاده والدكتور رشا والدكتور محمد شرف والترتيب يعني كل الزملاء المعيدين والمهندسين المساعدين الرائعين الحقيقه والشباب حتى الان طلاب الكليه. شكر طبعا للانترناشونال كينوت سبيكرز الدكتور عبيد طبعا، ده اكثر حد بيساعدني لولا اطيع الدكتور عبيد طبعا مفيش كلام. وشكر كل الزملاء اللي حضروا وقدموا ابحاثهم، ويعني دون شرف ان هم يشاركوا في ابحاثهم الساده رؤساء الجلسات والمناقشين. الحقيقه يعني جو رائع طبعا، كل المديرين والعمال بيساهموا في هذا جو رائع جدا. من الواحد يتطلع اليهم كانهم يعني من احتفال ومن عرس في الكليه ان شاء الله. لا الدوليه بتاعت الصوت الاستراتيجيه، وزي ما انا قلت ايهاب قال لي كذا مره وانا قلت له كذا مره جميل، الموضوع بقى فعلا اساسي، وان شاء الله باذن الله يستمر وجود اي حد في اداره الكليه او في اداره الاقسام او في الوكلاء في الكليه ان شاء الله يستمر ويبقى عرف عريق ومقدم للكليه. فطبعا احنا بنشوف الموصول لجميع الناس، وسعيد جدا جدا ان الواحد قد ما هو مبسوط بنهايه المؤتمر الموضوع خلص على خير وبكل سعاده، انما طبعا اكيد بيبقى متضايق ان هو نفسه الموضوع يستمر ويتواصل. شكرا جزيلا.
طبعا كعادة هي صور الدنيا في بالك الإسلام فتحت بعض الشهور من هنا في الرأس طبعا ده كل صور الجاي أحسن معدل. وطبعا الهدف هو إن إحنا بنعمل عمل مؤسسي ونأمل إن يروح ما يستمرش على مدار الفترة القادمة إن شاء الله. طبعا أنا سعيد جدا إن في كأس المؤتمر عمر وشباب
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحقيقه بشكر الجميع بدايه الضيوف في المؤتمر في الدولي، ودايما في كل مجهود فريق الاعداد الحقيقه بيبذل دور يعتبر دور جبار، خصوصا قبل المؤتمر بكام يوم ما بيناموش. فدي حقيقه ليهم الشكر، وده سمه كليه التجاره. احنا السنه اللي فاتت المؤتمر كان على مستوى عالي جدا جدا. السنه دي انا احساسي ان لا افضل بكتير، وبنشينا حاجات كتير دي سمه كليه التجاره. ودايما بنتوقع من البدايه احنا افضل ان شاء الله. دايما بيبقى كل فريق بيبقى فيه مايسترو. فالمايسترو صحيح ما بنزلش، بس من غير مايسترو كل واحد يبقى نشاط. طبعا على راس هي ايهاب، الدكتور ماجد الحقيقه، والدكتوره امل برضه في رئيس هيئه المنظمه. الشكر موصول للجميع. ان شاء الله يعني دايما تقدم من نجاح لنجاح، وهي دي كليتنا. واحنا متوقعين امل دايما الشباب اللي طالع حسب كلمه السنه دي الشباب ثلاث اقسام الحقيقه حاجه تفرق وحاجه على المستوى. فيا رب ان شاء الله مستمرين دايما. تمام، ونشكركم. شكرا.
السلام عليكم. انا في الحقيقه امبارح كنت واقفه هنا بقدم لافتتاح المؤتمر، وكنت عماله ادعي ربنا ان شاء الله ربنا يكلم كل الجهود اللي احنا بذلناها في المؤتمر اللي هي تظهر قدام. وانا دلوقتي قاعده في الكلوزنج بتاع المؤتمر بشكر ربنا الحمد لله على ان المؤتمر ظهر بالشكل اللائق ان شاء الله، واتمنى ان هو يكون نال اعجاب حضراتكم. انا في الحقيقه برحب بكل الحضور وتشريفهم لينا، بس انا في الحقيقه ليا شكر خاص لمجموعه معينه. طبعا بشكر جميع فريق العمل، بس ليا شكر خاص الاستاذ الدكتور ايهاب ابو عيش عميد الكليه ورئيس المؤتمر، لان في الحقيقه مفيش مره واحده مفيش مره لا يعني فعلا اعطاء كل ذي حق يعني مفيش مره طلبت منه طلب واحد. يمكن اقسم بالله
في التو واللحظه كان بيناديلي طلبي طبعا على مستوى المؤتمر يعني انا باعتباري كنت المنسق العام للمؤتمر كان ليا اتصال مع جميع اللجان او مع جميع رؤساء اللجان، بس انا بشكركم جدا جدا جدا. بس ليا شكر خاص للدكتور عبير محروس، دكتوره ندى علي، دكتوره رشا حماد، دكتور وليد منير. في الحقيقه يعني انا عايزه اقول لحضراتكم حجم الجهد اللي هم بذلوه عشان خاطر المؤتمر يظهر بالشكل ده، ففعلا دول الجنود المجهوله اللي مش باينه، لكن طبعا جهدها باين جدا جدا. واذا كان المؤتمر ده نجح الحمد لله فهو بفضل ربنا ثم بجهدهم. مش عايزه انسى اي حد، احنا فريق عمل واحد زي ما المجموعه كلها قالت، لكن انا خصيت بالشكر الاسماء دي لان انا حاسه قد ايه كنا في الكواليس وهم اللي قاموا بشغل كبير جدا. بشكر حضراتكم واتمنى ان دايما كليه التجاره جامعه القاهره تظل واجهه مشرفه على الصعيد المحلي العربي الافريقي والدولي. شكرا لحضرتك.
السلام عليكم. كل حاجه تبقى يعني طبعا صعب ان اقدر اضيف على الحلول السنويه. الشكر الوالي طبعا اختلافه، لكن هو يكون مختلف شويه في اكثر من انا طبعا زي ما حضراتكم كتير اتكلمنا كتير عن ايه هي الحاجات اللي موجوده في المؤتمر ده وايه تمشي على الرياضه. احنا السنه اللي فاتت عملنا نفس الاكسرسايز دوت وسمعنا وعملنا تغييرات في المؤتمر دوت. اللي حضر مؤتمر السنه اللي فاتت وحضر المؤتمر ده اكيد هنلاحظ ان في فروق، وبالتالي كل الأخبار اللي أنا سمعتها خلال اليومين دول سجلناها، هنشتغل عليها وأوعدكم إن شاء الله إن المؤتمر اللي جاي يكون أفضل. من الحاجات الأساسية اللي إحنا أعتقد إن إحنا غيرناها أو غيرناها المؤتمر السنة اللي فاتت السنة دي كانت فكرة إضافة ديسكشن في كل سيشن. ده ما كانش موجود السنة اللي فاتت، وأعتقد إن ده ادى عمليه اصرار للمنشات، وكانت فتره ديسكشن بالموضوع البحث المعروض. اعتقد ان دي حاجه ايجابيه حصلت السنه. الحاجه الثانيه برضه الموضوع بتاع طبعا انترناشوناليزيشن اوف بزنس كوميونيكيشن، دي حاجه احنا خدناها في الاعتبار في قبول الابحاث. يعني في بعض الناس اللي هي طلبت الابحاث بتاعتها نتيجه على مشروعاتها بالمؤتمر. احنا دخلنا في المؤتمر دوت وقلنا على ان احنا نتكلم على يعني دومين الانترناشوناليزيشن ده نركز. اعتقد مجموعه اللي حصل سواء كينوت سبيكرز او الابحاث المختلفه او البوستر، اعتقد انها كانت بتدور في الامر دوت، ونتمنى ان يكون حصل الاستفاده منه. فالشيء الثاني الايجابي اللي بعتبره حصل في المؤتمر دوت ما كانش متحقق بشكل كبير في مستويات الصفقه، اللي هو ان الابحاث ترتبط بالموضوع الرئيسي بالمؤتمر وتشتغل عليه. بالنسبه للشكر اللي كانت زملاء فعلا كلنا عارفين قد ايه ان هم كانوا بيبذلوا جهد وراضي، كل واحد بيحاول يقرب اكثر من عنده. مش هقدر اضيف اكثر من الزملاء لانه انا هسيب اسم ديت سيد العميد هيقولها، لانه من البدايه كان الجلسه الافتتاحيه قال انه هيعمل شكر باسم الجميع، حتى لا ننسى احد هنطلبها للعميد. انا بس هنقص حد واحد حضراتكم شايفينه طوال الوقت من الساعه 8 امبارح حتى اللحظه ديت، ده ولا كده. ده كان الشغل بتاعها من اول ما بدانا الفعاليات بتاعت المؤتمر، ولذلك انا اطلب شكر خاص لي. كل الكوميونيكيشن، كل الحاجات المختلفه كانت بتترجم من خلالها، وبالتالي بصحيح. الحاجه برضه الاضافيه اللي عملناها في المؤتمر ديت هي فكره تكريم رواد في الكليه. اعتمدت الكثير من الاساتذه على مدار السنوات المختلفه السابقه، اتعلمنا منهم، هم اساتذتنا وبنحترمهم وبنحترم وجودهم دايما بينا. ويمكن الفكره دي كانت عندنا نوع من الاضافه بالنسبه للمؤتمر دوت، نوع من الابريشيشن او التقدير للجهد الكبير اللي هم علمونا خلال السنوات السابقه خلاله، سواء كان في محاضرات الدروس او في الاشراف على الرسائل او في المعاونه الاداريه او المناصب الاداريه بالنسبه للكليه وعلى مستوى الجامعه. طبعا اكيد مش مفاجاه ابدا ان احد الرواد العظام اللي على مدار تاريخ الكليه في بيتنا دلوقتي الاستاذ الدكتور ابراهيم السباعي. ولكن للاسف ظروف خاصه برضه بتكرم الاستاذ الدكتور محمد الشهيب. هذا ظروف خاصه ما قدرش يحضر معانا. هو طبعا معانا، ونتذكر السنه اللي فاتت جه يعني يشارك معانا في المناقشات وكل تفاصيل المؤتمر. اخيرا وليس اخرا الاستاذ الدكتور محمد معوض. ايضا برضه ظروف خاصه لا تسمح شكرا جزيلا. كما الاستاذ الدكتور ايهاب عميد الكليه ورئيس.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. معلش اسمحوا لي ان انا استخدم سلطتي اخد بس وقت سن وقت اكثر من الزملاء كلهم. انا قبل الشكر بس انا احب اوضح ان احنا كان عندنا رسائل محدده واهداف محدده من العقاد السنوي للمؤتمر. اول حاجه للمسؤول الوزاره ان احنا شايفينه ان هو النموذج اللي غالبا ناجح في اغلب دول العالم. اي تطوير يحدث من خلال التعاون ما بين الحكومه والجامعات وقطاع الاعمال، ويحدث تطوير والثقه ما بين الدول. احنا شايفين ان زياده الانشطه الدوليه هي المحرك الاساسي للتطوير عندنا في الكليه، والحمد لله الموضوع ده احنا مركزين عليه الكليه كلنا بشكل كبير، وبينعكس في الحركه بتاعت الستودنتس الدولي والستارت اب، بينعكس في الزيارات والاكسبوجر اللي بيتعرض لاعضاء هيئه التدريس والمعيدين والمدرسين المساعدين والطلاب، بينعكس في حجم التمويل والمنح الغير مموله حكوميا اللي بياخدها الطلاب واعضاء هيئه التدريس. الحاجه الثالثه ودي مركزين عليها جدا، وكمان ذكرها في الاول من السبيكرز، حاجه بنطلبها من السبيكرز ان مصر دوله امنه ومستقره، مش يعني في احداث بتحدث من وقت للتاني، لكن مصر دوله امنه ومستقره ومرحبه دايما بكل الجنسيات دي. الحاجه الرابعه ودي حاجه لا نخجل منها نهائيا، ان احنا بنعرف انفسنا ككليه التجاره جامعه القاهره، وان في مجهودات بتتم ليها نتائج حقيقيه ملموسه تحت الضوء، بنفخر بيها وبنسعى زي ما قال الدكتور. الموضوع دايما يتطور، الموضوع بس هاي الموضوع ملوش اخر. فاحنا الحمد لله بنفخر ان احنا عندنا تنامي في ثقه مؤسسات الاعمال في في جهود كليه، عندنا روائح جديده في كل البرامج بتاعه الكليه بتطبق التوجهات العالميه وبتلاقي الظروف المحليه، ابتدت تطبقها فعلا من السنه دي. عندنا علاقات اقوى مع شركائنا الدوليين في البرامج اللي موجوده في الكليه، وفي برامج دوليه جديده بصدد صدور القرار الوزاري ليها حاليا في الكليه، وبرامج اخرى سواء على مستوى البكالوريوس او على مستوى الدراسات العليا احنا بصدد الانتهاء المفاوضات حواليها عشان تبتدي كمان العمليه الاجرائيه ليها. الحمد لله عندنا دعم الكتروني وعمليه تعليميه وتقديم مشترك لمحتوى علمي محدث موحد. الحمد لله عندنا ارتباط بالخريجين بتوعنا ده ابتدى يرجع بدرجه اقوى غالبا. الحمد لله في النهايه عندنا رغم ان احنا مؤسسه جامعيه حكوميه طبعا عندها عدد من التحديات، يعني بتتعامل مع قطاعات مختلفه من الطلاب يعني بشكل، سواء على 6 قطاعات اساسيه من الطلاب في مرحله البكالوريوس في جورجيا على سبيل المثال، الانجليزي، المميزه، الانتظام، الانتساب، التعليم المطلق او المفتوح، نفس الموضوع 6 قطاعات مختلفه على مستوى الدراسات العليا. ودي حاجه احنا يعني نحاول ان احنا مش تفاخر، لكن لازم ان احنا نحاول ان احنا نظهر افضل ما عندنا، نبقى الحمد لله فخورين بيه. في النهايه اوصل لموضوع الشغل، وانا تسمحوا لي عكس زمايلي ده انا اتخيل ان احنا سواء سيد رؤساء مجالس الاقسام او الدكتور مجدي او انا، احنا عندنا مناصب تنفيذيه في الكليه، بس احنا ما نستاهلش الشكر، ده شغلنا ان احنا المفروض ان احنا نعمله. انما بقى انا اوجه الشكر يعني ده مش معناه طبعا ان انا مش شاكر لحضراتكم، انما الفكره ان احنا بنعمل شغلنا، وهو ده اللي احنا بناخد عليه الفلوس يعني بتاعتنا، سواء نظريه كتيره او هي انما بعد كده ولا
الشخصي اللي انا قلت هطلبه من حضرتك بعد كده.
انما انا احتاج طبعا اشكر بقى يعني وهو الحمد لله برضه الشكر يرتبط بحاجه ثانيه. كل سنه طيبه يا دكتوره، يا دكتوره عيد ميلادها بكره. ده سؤال كده بتسالني كام سنه، ده سؤال انا ما بسالوش يعني. فعلاني انا شاكر يعني جدا لما حضرتك قلتي على يدك الثانيه. انا بحاول ان انا شخصيا اعمل شغلي، واتخيل ان احنا كلنا في اداره الكليه عندها نفس الشعور، واركز على الحاجه اللي قالها حتى الدكتور طارق، ان حضراتكم تعذرونا لو في اي تقصير سواء في المؤتمر سواء في الجهود اللي احنا بنعملها في الكليه. طبعا احنا بنحاول ان احنا نشتغل اكثر جهد ممكن يعني نحاول نحن. طبعا احتاج اشكر يعني ابتدينا بقى في منصه العام للمؤتمر، مش عارف طبعا اشكرها ازاي، رؤساء اللجان يعني الدكتوره عبير محروس يعني، الدكتوره غاده علي، الدكتور وليد وليد، وانا دايما بسميه الدكتور احمد شرف، الدكتوره ايمان عرفه، ودكتور رؤساء اللجان. وبحتاج ان انا اشكر بشكل يعني منفصل وهم مش رؤساء اللجان لكن بيشاركونا بدرجه كبيره في اعداد المؤتمر، الدكتوره لبنى فريد، الدكتور أمير صلاح، الدكتور محمود السيد، الحمد لله احنا كلنا كنا مركزين على الموضوع زي ما قلنا المؤسسه هو اللي يصبح عندها يعني معرفه في ارتباط بافراد معينين. الحمد لله برضه نقدر نقول ان ده من ضمن الحاجات اللي احنا حققنا فيها درجه معينه يعني من النجاح نقدر ندعي يعني. وبالتالي انا محتاج ان انا اشكر بين زملائنا المعيدين والمدرسين والمساعدين محمد قطب حسن احمد عادل مصطفى الفرنواني كريم علاء دعاء فتحي رنا عصام ربات علي رنا عمر وساره خليل. السنه اللي فاتت بصراحه نقطنا وحطينا، انا لسه فاكر لما الدكتور مجدي بيتكلم عن الاخطاء اللي السنه اللي فاتت ذكرنا اسم ساره من ضمن الطلاب اللي احنا موجودين مع ورانا رأفت ومدير محمد. والسنه اللي فاتت كانت من الطلاب، لكن السنه دي اصبحت من المعيدين والمدرسين المساعدين ورانا اكرم. وزي ما قال الدكتور رأفت يعني احنا بنحاول ان احنا نعمل جهود، لكن الكليه دي بتاعتكم انتوا فيه. بالتالي احنا بنطمع كلنا ان شاء الله القصه دي مستمره فيكم انتوا. الطلاب بقى واللي هيكملوا برضه بعد كده احمد حسن طبعا، بس هو الطلاب بتوع سواء برنامج جورجيا سواء في الانجليش عربي في حسن مؤمن حازم ساره محمد زينه هادي باسم اشرف ومحمد ناصر. اكبر واحد موجود في وجود المدرسين يعني انشي محمد وندى اكرم ومشروع الحسين. معلش انا اسف اعذروني، بس احنا بنحاول ان احنا يعني ندي سؤالات يعني سواء بالنسبه لنا سواء بالنسبه لهم. مشكورين جدا في الموضوع ده. احمد شكري وروان عصام وروحان يسري ومحمود احمد ومحمود اسامي. في النهايه يعني زي ما هم بيقولوا مش في الاخر ولا ثاني حاجه، لكن ثلاث فئات الموظفين الحاجه اللي قايمه عليها الكليه عمود الكليه الاساسي والصيانه والسواقين المنظمين. دايما الموضوع ده الموظفين هذا طبعا يعني الاستاذ عبد العزيز والدكتوره ايمان الاستاذ سيد زاكر الصيانه بقى رئيس الصيانه طبعا اللي هي الزملاء السيد محمد السوري وابراهيم عبد العظيم عبد الحميد حميده وسعد يوسف. وفي النهايه السواقين اللي هم متولين تنظيم الموضوع ده كل ده اسعد طبعا اسعد وحسين سعيد ومحمود عبد النبي وسيد عبد الرحمن واحمد طبعا. وانا اسف مش مع السعيد مع الصيانه. انا اسف ان انا طولت عليكم، لكن احنا مهم قوي ان احنا نرد الفضل للناس اللي هم تفضلوا علينا بمساعدتهم ان الكليه تظهر بالشكل ده. الحمد لله احنا فخورين بيه، وباذن الله السنه الجايه ان شاء الله يبقى الموضوع افضل واستكمالا لل البيبرز والدراسه الجواب والريكوجنيشن في النهايه. طبعا انا فاهم ان الحاجات اللي احنا بنفكر فيها ونكتبها هنا اللي هو حاجتين في النهايه خالص. رجال الصناعه اللي شرفونا ورجال الاعمال اللي سواء دعوا المؤتمر او تم تخصيص اثنين من السيشنز الاساسيين فيهم وشاركونا بوجهات نظرهم المختلفه في عمليه التدوير، وزي ما قلنا دي حاجه اساسيه لينا ومش هنتقدم بيننا في النهايه كليه تجاره يعني او كليه بيزنس يعني في النهايه. وطبعا الشكر ما نقدرش ننكر يعني دور الكينوت سبيكرز في نجاح المؤتمر بتاعنا، حاجه بنفخر بيها دائما، ومش بنفخر بيها لا بنستغلها في ان احنا نحط نفسنا في موقع اقدس. ونشكر طبعا السته دخلوا عارض النابلس، بعدين كانت كورينا بيالي، وبعدين مارك اللي هم الناس الاثنين مش موجودين، وبعدين النهارده جاكوبس وديبرا، وفي النهايه طبعا لسه شايف. ألف شكر ليكم يا احنا بس عندنا كام يعني تكريم نعمله ده وكام شهاده، وطبعا دكتور بس عشان نقدر نديله So we ask you actually to give us a very small thank you actually for دكتور ابريل السلاعي. في عدد من الشباب التأديب بس.
اتفضل.
انا اكبر واحد سنا في القاعه كلها. انا بقالي حوالي 50 سنه في هذه الكليه. اللي شايفينهم دول كلهم يعني لسه ما اتولدوش معظمهم، او كانوا شباب صغيرين. بالتالي انا بفخر بالكليه طول عمري، او اللي فاضل منه يعني. برضه بحيي الدكتور ايهاب. الدكتور ايهاب عمل حاجات كتيره في الكليه للشباب الواحد بيفتخر بيهم. العملاء اللي انا ممكن اذكرهم على مدى التاريخ، لانه برضه عمل حاجات في الكليه. في ناس جت وراحت، بس ستيل هو عمل حاجات كتيره. اتمنى له التوفيق في مسيرته اللي موجوده في الكليه او حتى بره الكليه. انا بشكر كل اللي افتكرونا وقالوا ان احنا كررنا النهارده، نشكرهم على هذا. يعني ارجو ان شاء الله الكليه المؤتمر اللي جاي اتمنى ان انا اقدر احضره، واتمنى ان شاء الله. شكرا جزيلا.
شهادات التقدير الدكتورة عبير. الدولي. دكتور احمد شرف. دكتورة إيمان عرفات. دعاء فتحي.
لو شدت كده على السكاشن لو
حسن محمد. احمد عادل. مصطفى الدولي. يا استاذ هلا.
زي ما اعلنا في بدايه المؤتمر هيكون عندنا بيست بيبر، وعلشان بشكل رئيسي احنا عندنا يعني مينلي فعندنا بيست بيبر في مجال الرياضه والتامين، وبيست بيبر في مجال الاكونتنج، وبيست بيبر في مجال البيزنس مانجمنت. وهنبدا بالبيست بيبر في مجال الرياضه والتامين. احنا علشان نوصل للبيست بيبر خلينا من البدايه نقول ان اي بحث قدم في المؤتمر ده كان بحث مميز، لان عدد الابحاث اللي قدمت اكثر من عدد الابحاث اللي قدمت، وبالتالي كون ان حضرتك بس مثلت او عملت برزنتيشن للدور بتاعك معنى كده انه مميز. كان عندنا صعوبه كبيره جدا في مساله تحديد مين اللي بيديروا البيست بيبر. كان ديسكشن طويل في الشير بتاع كل سيشن بيعمل عمليه تقييم، بالاضافه الى اللجنه العليا كانت بتحضر برزنتيشن، بحيث ان احنا نحاول قدر الامكان نوصل لتحديد بحث واحد. لو كانت في ايدينا ندي بيست بيبر لكل الابحاث كنا عملنا. بيست بيبر في مجال الرياضه والتامين كان نصيب شنا يوسف. عندها امتحان فممكن الدكتور رأفت في استدامه بالنيابه عنها. في مجال المحاسبه برضه هي الصعوبه اللي انا قلتها كانت في كل الابحاث. كانت بيست بيبر اووردد لاسماء حمدي. بالنسبه لقسم الاداره برضه استمرارا للصعوبه اللي قلنا عليها، هي بيست بيبر كانت مناصفه بين راوي عبد القادر اويس وتامر عوض مع الناس.
على فكره دي تاني سنه جي سي.
أسفين طولنا عليكم. We kept you from the dinner. We have to thank you again actually for everything. You made it, not us, you made it until الصورة